Vincent Romano didn't believe in ghosts, but standing in his Chicago penthouse at 2 a.m. with blood on his cufflinks, he wondered if the trembling woman before him might be one. Sofia Reyes pressed her finger to her lips with desperate urgency. "Don't let her hear you," Sofia whispered. In Vincent's world, people didn't tell him what to do. He gave orders that ended lives and kept peace between Chicago's most dangerous families. Yet something in the maid's dark eyes, terror mixed with determination, made him freeze. "What the hell is going on in my house?" His voice came out deadly low. Sofia grabbed his arm with surprising strength, pulling him toward shadows near the grand piano. "If you go in there now, it'll only get worse for them, his children." 7-year-old Marco and 5-year-old Elena were supposed to be asleep. He'd spent the evening handling business at the docks, the kind that left men bleeding. He'd come home early for once, carrying guilt heavier than the Beretta at his ribs. From deeper in the penthouse, he heard it. A child's voice, trembling. Not asleep, not safe. Sofia's hand clamped over his mouth. "She'll hear you. Trust me," for 60 seconds. No one called him Vincent. Not his soldiers, not his business partners, not even Francesca, his fiancée copyright, who preferred darling. But Sofia said it like a prayer. They moved through shadows he knew intimately. As they approached the playroom, Sofia positioned him behind a column. Then she pointed through the doorway. Vincent saw his daughter kneeling on the Persian rug, small shoulders shaking. Marco stood rigid beside her, hands clasped like a prisoner, and towering over them, pacing in designer heels, was Francesca Benedetti, his fiancée, the daughter of Salvatore Benedetti. Their engagement was a treaty between warring families. "You think crying will change anything, Elena?" Francesca's voice sliced through the air. "Your father isn't here. He's never here. And when he is, he's too weak to do what's necessary." Vincent's vision blurred red. "Weak children become dead weight." Francesca continued. "In my family, we eliminate dead weight. Be grateful. I'm only teaching you discipline." She crouched to Elena's eye level. "Tell me what you are." Elena's tiny voice whispered. "Worthless." The word detonated in Vincent's chest. Sofia's fingers wrapped around his wrist, stopping him. She pulled out her phone, showing him paused video. The footage showed Francesca earlier that evening, grabbing Marco by his hair, forcing him to his knees. Elena crying as Francesca's hand flashed out. Then the words, "Your mother was weak, too. That's why she's dead." Gabriella, his wife, dead 2 years in a car accident. Everyone called tragic. Sofia stopped the video. 12 more recordings like this. She only does it when you're gone. I've documented everything for 6 weeks. Vincent's voice was pure violence. 3 months. Sofia corrected, meeting his eyes. Since I started working here. Francesca has had free reign while you built your empire. Saw Gabriella's photos everywhere. Watched your children wait by the window, hoping you'd come home early. Her voice cracked, and I watched Francesca systematically destroy them while planning something worse. She pulled up more files, documents, insurance policies, wills. 6 weeks ago, Francesca researched poisons. 4 weeks ago, met with an estate lawyer. 2 weeks ago, dinner with Benedetti enforcers. Sofia clicked through evidence. Yesterday, she received this a box. Inside vials of clear liquid syringes. Digitalis, Sofia said flatly. In small doses causes symptoms that look like stress. By the time anyone suspects poisoning, it's untraceable. She's planning to kill me. She's planning to kill all of you. Children first. Tragic accident. Then you slowly. She plays grieving widow. Inherits everything. The Benedetti family absorbs your territories. The marriage was never peace. It was conquest. Marco spoke up. Mama Sofia found the papers about sending us to Switzerland. Vincent looked at his son. Mama Sofia. The boy flushed. When Miss Francesca locks us in our rooms without dinner, Sofia brings food. When we have nightmares, she stays. She sings Mama Gabriella's songs. His voice dropped. She's the only one who protects us. Something shifted in Vincent's chest. Dangerous warmth toward this woman who'd infiltrated for revenge, but stayed for his children. How do you know Gabriella's songs? Maria told me. She and Gabriella were friends. After Gabriella died, Maria cried for weeks. Said Gabriella was terrified something would happen. She'd been asking questions about the Benedetti family, about your dealings with them. Vincent's mind raced back. Gabriella had been different those final weeks. Nervous, distracted. Then came the rainstorm, The bridge, the car plunging into water. You think Francesca killed my wife. I think Gabriella discovered something that got her murdered. The timeline's too convenient. Gabriella dies. 6 months later, Francesca appears at a charity gala. Everyone called it fate. Calculation, Vincent whispered. A sound echoed. Footsteps, deliberate searching. She's looking for you, Sophia said. Your security alerted when you entered. Vincent pulled out his phone, texting Marco Santini, his most trusted lieutenant. Response came immediately. Sophia's face darkened. Marco had dinner with Francesca last Tuesday. I have photos. They were together 90 minutes. The betrayal hit differently. Marco was family, the brother he'd never had. You said you have a safe house. Vincent asked quietly. Then go take my children. Protect them. He crouched before Marco and Elena. You're going on a trip with Sophia. I need you to be brave. Elena's lip trembled. You're not coming. Not yet. But I promise I will find you. We'll be a family again. A real one. From the hallway, Francesca's voice called out false and sweet. Vincent, darling, are you home? Sophia moved with efficiency, grabbing a packed bag. Service elevator now. They slipped into the corridor. As they reached the elevator, Elena stumbled with a small cry. The sound carried. Francesca's heels stopped, then started again, faster, heading directly toward them. Sophia made a split-second decision. She shoved the children into the elevator. As the doors began closing, she stepped back out. Get them safe, she mouthed. I'll buy you time. The elevator sealed shut with his children inside. And Francesca rounded the corner, beautiful face masking cold calculation. There you are, she purred, having a late-night meeting with the help. How unexpected. Sophia straightened, meeting Francesca's scrutiny with practiced difference. Romano wanted coffee, Miss Benedetti. Francesca's smile remained fixed, but her glacier eyes narrowed at 2:30. How dedicated, though. I wonder, Vincent, why you didn't come to bed. I was waiting. Vincent forced casual authority. Business ran late. Didn't want to wake you. How considerate. Francesca glided closer, touching the blood on his cufflink. Difficult negotiations, darling. The usual complications. He caught her wrist. Affection or warning. Nothing that concerns you, but everything concerns me. We're to be married, partners in all things, unless there are secrets. The word hung like a blade. Sophia moved toward the kitchen. I'll prepare that coffee, sir. Actually, Francesca said sharply, I'd prefer tea. Sophia, brew that chamomile blend. The one from the blue tin. Sophia paused imperceptibly. Vincent caught it. The blue tin. Francesca repeated deliberately. I've been saving it for a special occasion. Understanding crashed through Vincent. The digitalis. Francesca was testing if Sophia knew which container was compromised. Of course, Miss Benedetti. Sophia confirmed smoothly. Perfect. I'll take it in the study with Vincent. We have wedding details to discuss. Francesca linked her arm through his. Come, darling. In the study, her demeanor transformed. Warmth evaporated into something reptilian. You're a terrible liar when tired, she said. You came home early. You never do. Instinct. The great Vincent Romano running on instinct. You're getting sloppy. You hire housekeepers without vetting. Leave your children with strangers. You've gone soft. He sat across from her. The children seem to like her. The children are irrelevant. The casual cruelty ignited murder in Vincent's chest, but deadly weapons deployed silently. You don't like kids much, he observed. I don't like complications. Children drain resources and attention, but they serve their purpose. A ready-made family makes us look legitimate. And after the wedding, they go to the Swiss boarding school. Out of sight, properly educated, not interfering. Her smile was pure calculation. Unless you've changed your mind. Vincent had never agreed. I don't recall agreeing to Switzerland. You didn't disagree. Silence is consent. I've already paid the deposit. A knock. Sophia entering with the tray. Blue teapot. 2 cups. Your chamomile. Miss Benedetti. You may go. Sophia hesitated. Sir, your sister called from Boston. Urgent about the children's medical records. She's holding online, too. Vincent didn't have a sister. The message, children are safe. Out of the building. I'll take it here. Sophia, transfer the call. After Sophia left, Francesca poured tea from the blue pot into both cups. Your family never approved of me, she said, pushing a cup toward him. But ambition builds empires. You understood that once. Vincent looked at the tea. I'm not thirsty. You look exhausted. I said, I'm not thirsty. It's just tea. Unless you think I'm trying to poison you. She laughed, but her eyes stayed flat. The phone rang. Vincent answered, improvising a one-sided conversation while watching Francesca watch him, coiled tension wrapped in silk. When he hung up, she was sipping delicately. Family crisis averted. Just bureaucracy. Then drink your tea and come to bed. Then you walk through tomorrow at noon. Vincent picked up the cup, brought it to his lips, let steam touch his face, then hurled the contents into the fireplace. Liquid hissed against coals, sending up acrid smoke. What the hell are you doing? Francesca shrieked. You first. Tell me what you're doing. Her face cycled through emotions. Have you lost your mind? Was it digitalis from foxglove plants purchased 8 days ago under a false name? Color drained from Francesca's face. Her hand moved viper quick toward her Hermes clutch. Vincent was faster. He caught her wrist twisted. The small pistol clattered to the floor. When did you start carrying? Francesca wrenched free. You've been investigating me. I've been blind, but not anymore. Blind to what? I know you've been torturing my children, planning to send them away, slowly poisoning me. He stepped closer. And I know you had something to do with Gabriella's death. At his dead wife's name, the mask cracked completely. Gabriella, she repeated, laughing, bitter and triumphant. Of course, this comes back to Gabriella. The dead wife becomes a saint. The living one a monster. Did you kill her? Does it matter? She's dead either way. Francesca straightened. Your precious Gabriella was going to destroy everything. She found out about trafficking routes. My family runs through your territories. Was going to expose us. Expose you to the FBI. She had documents, recordings, enough to put both families away for decades. The words hit like blows. Gabriella would never. Gabriella was a naive fool who thought love conquered all. She believed she could make you walk away from the life, become legitimate. Francesca's smile was cruel. She didn't understand men like you don't walk away. So, we solved the problem. We, my father and I. The car accident was elegant, quick, tragic, untraceable. It opened the door for me to step in, comfort the widower, become the new Mrs. Romano, merge our families properly. You've been planning this for years. Since I was 23. You were always the prize. Vincent. Gabriella was just an obstacle. Francesca picked up her gun, pointing it at his chest. And your children loose ends. Witnesses who might remember. The Swiss school was kindness. I was going to let them live. Was past tense. You forced my hand. She thumbed back the hammer. This will look like tragedy. Vincent Romano murdered by an intruder. I'll be devastated. Inherit everything. The children will have an unfortunate accident. Gas leak perhaps. Car crash like their mother. The door burst open. Marco Santini stood there, gun pointed at Vincent, not Francesca. Sorry, boss. Marco said nothing personal, just better money. Francesca smiled. Thank you, Marco. Make it look authentic. A struggle. Some blood. Vincent stared at the man he'd called brother. How long? Since the beginning. Francesca approached me 6 months before Gabriella died. Offered triple what you pay plus territory. And my children, they're already dead. Francesca had guys waiting in the garage. The maid, too. The words were designed to break him, but cold certainty formed. Marco was lying. Sophia was too smart. And if his children were dead, Francesca wouldn't still be explaining, which meant Marco and Elena were still alive. That single thought was enough. Vincent moved. Vincent dropped below Marco's sight line as the shot shattered air. Bullet embedding in mahogany. His hand found the letter opener. Metal sliced through expensive fabric, then skin. Marco screamed, weapon clattering away. Francesca raised her own gun, but Vincent was already closing distance. He caught her wrist, twisted until bones ground together. The second gun joined the first on Persian carpet. Then it was over. Both weapons secured, Marco bleeding but alive, Francesca subdued but seething. Vincent's phone buzzed. Sophia. Children are secure. Building clear. Police en route. Your friend Detective James Carter says 5 minutes. Vincent looked at Francesca. 5 minutes to explain why I shouldn't kill you right now. She laughed. Because you're not a killer anymore, Vincent. You've gone soft. Maybe. But soft doesn't mean stupid. He made 2 calls. First to Detective James Carter. Package ready for pickup. Everything documented. Then to Sophia. How are they? Scared but safe. Sophia's voice was steady. Marco is asking for you. Elena won't stop crying until she hears your voice. Put her on. Papa. Elena's tiny voice cracked his heart. I'm here, baby. The bad woman can't hurt you anymore. Ever. Promise. I promise. And Papa's promises are forever. Yes, they are. When sirens approached, Vincent felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Peace. Not the brittle quiet bought with violence, but real peace. The kind that came from protecting what mattered. Francesca was loaded into the back of a police car. She looked at him through the window one final time. This isn't over, her lips said. Yes, it is, he mouthed back. It's finally over. 3 weeks later, Vincent Romano officially died. The man who took his place was David Sullivan, high school literature teacher, widower, father of 2. The Federal Witness Protection Program gave them new lives in Madison, Wisconsin. A small house on Maple Drive. Christopher and Olivia, that's what they called themselves in public. But at home, in quiet moments, they were still Marco and Elena. And Sophia, now Rebecca Sullivan, was the woman who'd saved them all. The first morning in Madison, Vincent made breakfast. Pancakes shaped like animals, the way Gabriella used to. Elena giggled when she saw the elephant pancake with bacon ears. Marco smiled, the first real smile in months. Sophia watched from the doorway, and Vincent caught her expression. Relief mixed with something deeper. Hope, maybe. What are you thinking? He asked. I'm thinking this is what normal feels like, she said. I'd forgotten. They spent the day unpacking boxes, arranging furniture, playing in the backyard. Ordinary things. Beautiful things. That evening, after the children were asleep, Vincent and Sophia sat on the porch swing, watching fireflies dance in summer air. Think we'll be happy here? Sophia asked. Vincent considered the question. We'll be safe here. Happy is something we'll have to build. Like everything else. She leaned against his shoulder. I'm willing to try. So am I. A year passed quietly. Vincent taught English literature. Sophia worked at the local library. Marco played Little League baseball. Elena learned ballet. They attended parent-teacher conferences and school plays. They argued about homework and bedtime. They were magnificently, beautifully normal. Sometimes Vincent woke in the middle of the night, reaching for weapons that weren't there, listening for threats that never came. But Sophia was always beside him, steady and warm, and gradually those moments became less frequent. One evening in their second year, Marco asked the question Vincent had been dreading. Are you really my dad? Vincent set down the book he'd been reading. What do you mean? Your last name is Sullivan now. Mine too. But that's not real, is it? Vincent looked at his son, this brave, thoughtful boy who'd survived so much. The names aren't real, but everything else is. I chose you. You chose me. Sophia chose all of us. That makes us a family, no matter what we're called. What happened to our real mom? Elena asked from the doorway. She'd been listening. Vincent's throat tightened. Your real mom, Gabriella. She loved you more than anything in the world. But some bad people hurt her because she was trying to protect you. Is that why we had to change our names? Yes. To keep us safe from the bad people. Are they gone now? Vincent pulled both children close. They're gone. And we're here. And Sophia loves you just as much as Gabriella did. She's not trying to replace your mom. She's trying to honor her by keeping you safe. Elena considered this seriously. Can I call her Mama Sophia? Sophia came into the room, eyes bright with unshed tears. You can call me whatever feels right to you. Mama Sophia it is. On their third Christmas in Madison, Vincent proposed. Not because their cover required it, but because he couldn't imagine life without Sophia Reyes. The woman who'd been brave enough to save his children and patient enough to save him. She said yes while Marco and Elena cheered in the background. They were married in the backyard on a spring morning, with only the children as witnesses and a justice of the peace who asked no questions about their past. Sophia wore a simple white dress. Vincent wore his only suit. Marco carried the rings. Elena scattered flower petals from their garden. It wasn't the grand wedding Vincent might have planned in his old life. It was better. It was real. That night, as they lay in bed as husband and wife, Sophia whispered, "Do you ever miss it? The power, the respect, the certainty of knowing who you were." Sometimes. But then I remember that version of me cost Gabriella her life and nearly destroyed our children. And I think this is better. This quiet. This normal. This is what Gabriella died trying to give us. She'd be glad you finally figured it out. She'd be glad you were here to help me figure it out. He took Sophia's hand. I never properly asked, you know. Asked what? If you'd marry me. Really marry me. Not as part of our cover story, but because I love you and can't imagine this life without you. You're asking now after a year of being married. I'm asking now because we're not pretending anymore. This is real. You're real. We're real. They made love slowly, quietly, like people who had all the time in the world. Because they did. They had the rest of their lives to be ordinary. 5 years after Francesca's arrest, Vincent received a phone call. Detective James Carter's voice was somber. She's dead. Francesca. Prison fight 3 days ago. Another inmate. Someone whose family she'd apparently wronged years ago. It was quick. Vincent felt nothing. No satisfaction, no grief. Just emptiness where his need for revenge used to live. Thank you for telling me. Will there be any investigation? Nothing that touches you or your family. As far as anyone knows, you're just a high school teacher who never heard of Francesca Benedetti. After he hung up, Vincent told Sophia. She listened quietly, then asked, "How do you feel?" "Free," he said. Finally free. That evening, he gathered his family in the living room. "I have something to tell you all. Francesca, the woman who hurt us before, she's dead. She can't hurt anyone anymore." Marco, now 11, asked, "Does that mean we're safe?" "You were already safe. This just means you don't have to worry about her ever again." Elena, 9 years old and wise beyond her years, said, "Good. She was mean. Now can we watch a movie?" They watched Finding Nemo, Elena's favorite. Marco fell asleep during the credits. Sophia carried him to bed while Vincent tucked Elena under her princess blankets. When they returned to their own room, Sophia asked, "What happens now?" "Now we keep living. We watch our children grow up. We grow old together. We be the family Gabriella dreamed of and Francesca tried to destroy." 10 years passed. Marco graduated high school, earned a scholarship to study engineering. Elena became a dancer, graceful and strong, with her mother's determination and her father's protective instincts. Vincent's hair went gray at the temples. Sophia's laugh lines deepened. They bought a bigger house, adopted a dog, hosted neighborhood barbecues. Vincent coached Little League. Sophia ran the library's literacy program. They were David and Rebecca Sullivan, pillars of their community, beloved teachers, devoted parents. Sometimes, late at night, Vincent would think about his old life. The power he'd wielded, the fear he'd inspired, the empire he'd built and abandoned. It felt like remembering someone else's dream. A violent, empty dream that had cost him everything that mattered. On their 10th wedding anniversary, as they sat in their garden watching grandchildren play, Vincent asked Sophia the question that had haunted him for years. "Do you ever regret it? Giving up your old life to save us?" Sophia was quiet for a long moment. "My old life was revenge and grief. This life is love and hope." She took his hand. "I didn't give anything up, Vincent. I gained everything." That summer, they took a family vacation to Italy. Not Rome or Florence, but a small coastal village where no one knew their names or their history. They walked on beaches, ate gelato, watched sunsets paint the Mediterranean in shades of gold and crimson. On their last night, as they sat on a terrace overlooking the sea, Marco said, "This has been the best vacation ever." Elena agreed. "Next year, can we come back?" Vincent looked at his children, tall and healthy and happy, then at Sophia, beautiful and peaceful in the lamplight. "Yes," he said, "we can come back. We have all the time in the world." Because they did. They had built something that would last. Not an empire of fear and violence, but a family of love and trust. Not subjects who obeyed from terror, but children who chose to stay close because home was where they felt safe. Vincent Romano had been a king of shadows. David Sullivan was simply a father, and he wouldn't trade one for the other for all the power in the world. But Vincent's eyes scanned the street anyway. Parked cars, dark windows, the ambient quiet of a sleeping suburb. In the back seat, Marco stirred. "Are we here? Is this home?" The word felt foreign. Home had been a Boston mansion filled with his wife's laughter. Then a Chicago penthouse poisoned by Francesca's cruelty. Then a Gary church that smelled of incense and hope. Could home be this ordinary house on this anonymous street? "We're here," Sophia confirmed. 343, Maple Drive. David and Rebecca Sullivan's fresh start. They approached on foot, Vincent carrying sleeping Elena while Sophia guided Marco. The houses around them radiated suburban normality. Minivans, bicycles, the distant bark of a dog. No surveillance, no threats, just life, ordinary and precious. The key fit perfectly. The door opened onto darkness that smelled of fresh paint and new carpet. Sophia found the light switch. The interior was startlingly complete. Furniture arranged, kitchen stocked, photographs on the walls of a family that didn't exist. David and Rebecca at a wedding that never happened. Christopher and Olivia at ages they'd never been. It's like a museum exhibit. The American family. Vincent said Elena on the couch. Detective James Carter doesn't do anything halfway. He's giving us a life so real we can inhabit it completely. Marco wandered through rooms, touching furniture with tentative wonder. There's toys in my room and books. The same books I had before, but new copies. His voice cracked. Someone remembered what I liked. Someone cares what happens to you, Sophia said, kneeling beside him. Someone wants you to be happy here. Can we really be happy after everything? The question hung in the air like smoke from a fire that wouldn't quite die. Before anyone could answer, Sophia's phone vibrated. A text from Detective James Carter. Made it to Milwaukee. Francesca's car found abandoned at a bus station. No sign of her. Either she's running scared or she's hunting smarter. Stay alert and open the envelope I sent. Sophia retrieved the envelope, slid it open. Inside a single photograph and a handwritten note. The photograph showed Francesca, but not the polished socialite from before. This woman was haggard, hair matted, eyes wild with desperation. She was at a payphone calling someone. The note read, "This was taken 6 hours ago in Milwaukee. She's looking for help, but everyone's abandoned her. Father disowned her publicly this morning. Called her a rogue element and no daughter of mine. She has no money, no allies, no options. Cornered animals bite. Be ready. But also know this. You've already won. She's destroyed. Whatever happens next, you took her empire and her dignity. That's more punishment than death. Choose wisely." Vincent stared at the photograph, feeling a complex knot of emotions. Rage at what Francesca had done. Pity for the broken woman she'd become. And underneath it all, exhaustion. He was so tired of violence, of revenge, of the endless cycle. "She looks like a ghost," Sophia observed quietly. "She is a ghost. From criminal empires to suburban normality, from violence to peace, from brokenness to healing, it wasn't perfect. Marco still had nightmares sometimes." Elena flinched at raised voices. Sophia couldn't fully let go of her hypervigilance. And Vincent himself sometimes woke in cold sweats, remembering the weight of his past. But they were trying. Every day they chose to try. And in a world that had tried so hard to break them, that was its own kind of victory. The locket that had once held Gabriella's photo now contained 3, Gabriella, Vincent, and Sophia. Past, present, and future. A family stitched together from loss, sustained by love, and made whole by the simple act of refusing to give up. Some scars never faded, but in the right hands they became proof of survival. And survival, Vincent had learned, was just another word for love. The stubborn, relentless daily choice to keep living despite everything that tried to kill you. Outside, Madison slept in peaceful ignorance of the family on Maple Drive. Inside, that family dreamed of futures where the past was a distant shadow, not a living threat. And for the first time in years, those dreams felt almost real, almost safe, almost like home. 6 months had passed since that final night in Madison when Francesca's desperate gamble had ended with handcuffs and federal custody. The Sullivan family had settled into their new rhythm with surprising ease. David Sullivan taught sophomore English at Madison West High School, finding unexpected joy in helping teenagers discover the power of literature. Rebecca Sullivan managed the children's section at the public library, her gentle nature drawing kids who needed someone to listen. Christopher played on the school soccer team and had made 3 close friends who knew nothing about his past except that his family had moved from Portland. Olivia took ballet lessons and painted watercolors of the garden behind their house on Maple Drive. But peace, Vincent had learned, was not the absence of danger. It was the presence of something worth protecting. The first sign of trouble came on a Tuesday morning in late October. Vincent was grading papers in his kitchen when his secure phone, the one Detective James Carter had given him for emergencies, buzzed with an encrypted message. 3 words that made his blood freeze. She escaped custody. Vincent immediately called the number Carter had provided. The detective answered on the first ring, his voice tense with controlled urgency. "Vincent, I assume you got my message. How is that possible?" Federal transport van was ambushed outside Milwaukee yesterday evening. 3 guards dead, Francesca and 2 other high-value prisoners gone. Professional job, military precision. This wasn't some desperate breakout. Someone with serious resources wanted her free. Vincent's mind raced through implications. Who would risk that kind of exposure to free Francesca? Her father disowned her publicly. The Benedetti organization collapsed. Carter's voice was grim. Apparently, blood runs thicker than business reputation. Salvatore Benedetti may have publicly cut ties, but privately, he's been planning this for months. Our intelligence suggests Francesca wasn't just escaping, she was being retrieved. For what purpose? Revenge. Carter said simply. Against you, against the FBI agents who brought down their empire, against everyone who cost them their power. But mostly against you and your family. The people who turned her from a crime princess into a federal fugitive. Vincent looked out his kitchen window at Sophia hanging laundry on the line, while Elena played with their neighbor's dog in the yard. Ordinary suburban morning, precious and fragile. How much time do we have? Unknown. Could be days, could be weeks. She'll need to regroup, gather resources, plan. But Vincent, she knows your new identity. During interrogation, she let slip details about the Sullivan family that she shouldn't have known. Someone fed her information. A chill ran down Vincent's spine. Someone in witness protection. Or someone with access to witness protection files. Carter's voice carried dangerous implications. We're conducting an internal investigation, but until we find the leak, you're exposed. I can offer immediate relocation, new identities, fresh start somewhere else. Vincent watched Marco kick a soccer ball against the garage door, practicing moves his coach had taught him. The boy had nightmares for 3 months after Chicago, but here in Madison, he'd started laughing again. Started believing he could have a normal childhood. And Sophia, his wife in every way that mattered, had found work she loved and neighbors who had become friends. No, Vincent said quietly. We're not running anymore. Vincent, be reasonable. Francesca has resources now, backing from what's left of the Benedetti organization. She's not the desperate woman you faced on your front lawn. She's a crime family princess with an army and a vendetta. Then we end it here. On our terms, in our home, protecting what we've built. Vincent's voice carried the steel that had once commanded respect in Chicago's underworld. I won't teach my children that love means running forever. Some things are worth fighting for. A long pause. You'll need help. Professional help. Vincent thought of Detective James Carter, the man who'd saved their lives and disappeared back into the shadows. Can you reach him? Already did. He's driving up from Chicago as we speak. Should arrive tonight. Carter's voice softened. Vincent, I understand wanting to make a stand, but consider the cost. Your children have been through enough trauma. Which is exactly why this ends now. Vincent said firmly. Marco and Elena deserve a childhood without looking over their shoulders. Sophia deserves a marriage built on love, not fear. And I deserve to stop being the man I used to be and start being the father and husband I chose to become. After ending the call, Vincent sat in his quiet kitchen, surrounded by the detritus of normal life. Homework assignments to grade, Sophia's coffee cup with lipstick on the rim, Elena's drawing of their family taped to the refrigerator. This was what he'd traded an empire for. This small, precious, ordinary world. When Sophia came in from the garden, she immediately read the tension in his shoulders. What's wrong? Vincent told her everything. About Francesca's escape, the ambush, the leaked information, the approaching danger. Sophia listened without interruption, her face cycling through emotions. Fear, anger, determination. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. The children, she said finally. Safe for now, but we need to be ready. Detective James Carter is coming tonight. We'll make a plan. Sophia's hand moved unconsciously toward where she used to carry her weapon. Old habits died hard. Vincent caught the gesture and understood. They'd tried to leave violence behind, but violence had found them anyway. The difference was, this time they weren't alone. They had each other, they had allies, and they had something worth protecting that was bigger than revenge or power. That evening, after Marco and Elena were asleep, Detective James Carter arrived at the Sullivan house. He looked older than Vincent remembered, gray threading his dark hair, lines etched deeper around his eyes. The cost of 5 years in the shadows, fighting wars most people never knew existed. We don't have long, Carter said, spreading maps and surveillance photos across the Sullivans' dining room table. My sources say Francesca and her people are already in Wisconsin. 3 vehicles spotted at a truck stop in Prairie du Chien this morning. That's 2 hours south of here. How many? Sophia asked, studying the photos with professional interest. At least 12, maybe more. Benedetti soldiers, some Serbian mercenaries, and what looks like 2 former military contractors. Francesca's not taking any chances this time. Vincent examined the tactical layout Carter had prepared. The house on Maple Drive, their neighbors, escape routes, defensive positions. It looked like a war plan, because that's what it was. What's the play? Carter's expression was grim. Officially, I'm not here. The FBI can't be seen orchestrating a firefight in a civilian neighborhood. Unofficially, I've been tracking Francesca since her escape, and I have resources ready to help. But the choice has to be yours, Vincent. We can still evacuate you tonight. New identities, safe house across the country. Vincent looked at Sophia, seeing his own thoughts reflected in her dark eyes. They'd built something here. Marco had friends who were coming to his birthday party next week. Elena had a ballet recital in December. Sophia was teaching a literacy program for immigrant families at the library. These weren't just activities, they were connections, roots, the foundation of a real life. We stay, Vincent said. We make our stand here. But the children can't be anywhere near this when it happens. I've arranged for that. Carter pulled out a phone. Dr. Chun, the trauma therapist who helped you in Chicago, she's driving up tomorrow morning. She'll take Marco and Elena to a secure location until this is over. They'll think it's a counseling retreat, a chance to process their past trauma in a safe environment. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. How do we explain that we might not come back? We don't, Carter said gently. We make sure we do come back. And if we don't, Dr. Chun has instructions to place them with a family we've carefully vetted. People who will love them and raise them well. The weight of that possibility hung in the air like smoke. Vincent reached for Sophia's hand, interlacing their fingers. Whatever happens, we face it together. The next morning dawned gray and cold, typical November weather in Wisconsin. Dr. Chun arrived at 9 o'clock, her presence immediately calming the children's natural suspicion about another unexpected change in their routine. She'd prepared carefully, presenting the trip as a special opportunity. Marco, Elena, she said, settling into the living room with the ease of someone who understood children. I have friends who run a camp for young people who've been through difficult experiences. They have horses and art studios and kids your age who understand what it's like when life gets complicated. Would you like to visit for a few days? Elena's eyes lit up at the mention of horses. She'd been asking for riding lessons for months. Can we really? Vincent knelt beside his daughter, memorizing her face. The dark eyes that reminded him of Gabriella, the stubborn chin she'd inherited from him, the way she twisted her hair when she was thinking. You can really. And when you come back, we'll have all the time in the world to hear about your adventures. Marco, older and more perceptive, sensed undercurrents. Papa, are you and Mama Sophia coming later? We'll see you very soon, Sophia said, pulling both children into a hug that lasted longer than usual. Be good for Dr. Chun. Take care of your sister. And remember that no matter what happens, you are loved. You are wanted. You are safe. After they left, the house felt too quiet, like a theater after the final curtain. Vincent and Sophia spent the day making preparations. Weapons cleaned and positioned. Escape routes verified. Communication with Carter confirmed. By evening, they were as ready as they could be. But readiness, Vincent reflected, was different from certainty. They might not survive the next 24 hours. Francesca had resources, numbers, and the desperate fury of someone who'd lost everything. All they had was love for their children and each other, and the conviction that some things were worth dying to protect. As darkness fell over Madison, Vincent and Sophia sat on their porch swing, holding hands and watching the street. Somewhere in the distance, engines approached. The final confrontation was beginning. Vincent thought about the man he'd been in Chicago, commanding respect through fear, building an empire on violence. That man had been powerful but hollow, rich but empty, feared but ultimately alone. The man he'd become here, teaching literature to teenagers and coaching Little League and learning to braid his daughter's hair, was ordinary by comparison. But he was also whole. If tonight was the end, at least it would be an end that honored the people he loved. Francesca could take his life, but she couldn't take the love he'd given and received, the healing his family had found, the choice they'd made to be better than their past. The sound of vehicles grew closer. Vincent squeezed Sophia's hand once, and they stood together to face whatever came next. Some wars were worth fighting, and some things were worth any sacrifice to protect. Tonight, they would discover whether love really was stronger than hate, whether healing could triumph over revenge, whether the family they'd built from brokenness could survive one final test. In the distance, headlights cut through the darkness, moving slowly down Maple Drive. The reckoning had arrived. 3 black SUVs rolled to a stop 2 houses down from 343 Maple Drive. Vincent counted shadows moving between vehicles. 12 figures, maybe more, just as Carter had predicted. Professional, coordinated, deadly. Francesca had learned from her previous mistakes. Vincent's phone buzzed. Carter's voice was steady through the earpiece. "I'm in position across the street. Sniper rifle, elevated position. I can take out the lead vehicle, but after that, you'll be in close quarters. You sure about this?" "I'm sure." Vincent's hand found Sophia's in the darkness. "We're sure." From the lead SUV, a familiar figure emerged. Even at distance, Francesca Benedetti was unmistakable. Designer clothes replaced by tactical gear, but she still moved with that calculating grace that had once attracted and ultimately repelled him. She raised a megaphone to her lips. "Vincent Romano, I know you're in there. Time to finish what we started in Chicago." Vincent stepped onto his front porch, visible but protected by the concrete pillars Carter had identified as defensive positions. "Francesca, you're a long way from federal prison." Her laugh carried across the suburban quiet like breaking glass. "Funny what family loyalty can accomplish. My father may have disowned me publicly, but blood runs deeper than reputation. I have resources again, Vincent. Resources and patience and very specific plans for you and your little family. What do you want?" "What I've always wanted. Everything you took from me. My empire, my future, my identity. You destroyed it all with your righteous crusade. Now I return the favor." Vincent thought of Marco and Elena, safe with Dr. Chun, but still vulnerable if he and Sophia didn't survive this night. "What makes you think I'll give you anything?" "Because I know where your children really are." Francesca's voice carried across the darkness like a knife blade. "Dr. Chin's retreat isn't as secure as you think. One phone call from me, and Marco and Elena disappear forever. But make this easy, surrender yourself, and they get to grow up somewhere far away from all this violence." The threat hit Vincent like a physical blow. Sophia's hand tightened on his, but her voice remained steady. "She's bluffing. Carter would have secured them properly." But doubt crept in. Francesca had escaped federal custody, had tracked them to Madison, had known details about their new identities that should have been impossible to obtain. If she had sources inside witness protection, she might have sources everywhere. Vincent made his choice. "I'll come out. Alone. You let Sophia go, you leave my children alone, and I'll surrender." "Vincent, no." Sophia's whisper was fierce. "We do this together or not at all." Francesca's response echoed across the street. "Noble gesture, Vincent, but insufficient. You see, your wife there isn't just Sophia Reyes anymore. She's Rebecca Sullivan, accessory after the fact to multiple federal crimes. And more importantly, she's the woman who killed 3 of my father's soldiers during your escape from Chicago. She has her own debts to pay." The words hung in the night air. Vincent realized Francesca had never intended to let any of them go. This wasn't about justice or even revenge. This was about completely erasing the Romano family from existence. Sophia stepped up beside him, her own weapon now visible in her hands. "Then we end this now. Together." Vincent smiled grimly. "Together." The first shots came from Carter's position. The lead SUV's windshield exploded, the driver slumping forward. Chaos erupted on Maple Drive. Benedetti soldiers scattered for cover behind vehicles and trees, automatic weapons chattering in the suburban darkness. Vincent and Sophia moved with the coordination they'd learned in those desperate weeks in Chicago. She went left, he went right, both seeking cover while returning fire. The front of their house erupted in splinters and concrete dust as high-caliber rounds chewed through suburban architecture never meant to withstand warfare. A flash of movement caught Vincent's eye. Francesca, using the chaos to advance, flanked by 2 soldiers. She was heading for the side entrance, trying to get inside the house. Vincent broke cover, sprinting across his own front yard under covering fire from Sophia's position. He tackled Francesca just as she reached the door, both of them crashing through the wooden panels into the Sullivan family's living room. They rolled across the floor, grappling for advantage among the scattered remnants of ordinary life. Elena's art supplies, Marco's soccer trophies, family photos that told the story of their attempted normalcy. Francesca was stronger than she looked, and desperate in the way only someone with nothing left to lose could be. Her knife appeared from nowhere, slashing toward Vincent's throat. He caught her wrist, twisted, but she drove her knee into his wounded side, the old injury from Chicago flaring with fresh agony. "You could have been everything," Francesca snarled, still fighting. "We could have ruled Chicago together, expanded into Milwaukee, Detroit, New York. But you chose her, chose them, chose this pathetic suburban fantasy." Vincent managed to pin her knife hand. "I chose love over power, family over empire. Something you'll never understand. Love." Francesca spat the word like poison. "Love is weakness. Sentiment is weakness. You were strong once, Vincent. Now look at you, playing house with a maid and two traumatized children who aren't even yours. They're mine because I chose them. Because they chose me. That's what family is, Francesca. Choice, not blood. Commitment, not conquest." Outside, the gunfire intensified. Sophia's voice called out, urgent. "Vincent, more vehicles approaching from the north. Reinforcements." Francesca smiled, even with Vincent's hands at her throat. "My father sent 20 soldiers, not 12. Your sniper friend can't cover every angle." But Vincent smiled back. "Neither can you." Because at that moment, the distinctive sound of federal helicopters filled the night air. Searchlights blazed down on Maple Drive, illuminating the battlefield with harsh white light. FBI tactical teams fast-roped from hovering aircraft, surrounding the remaining Benedetti soldiers with overwhelming force. "How?" Francesca's eyes went wide with disbelief. Carter's voice crackled through Vincent's earpiece. "Turns out the leak in witness protection was a double agent. We've been feeding Francesca false information for weeks, letting her believe she had the advantage. Tonight was a trap, Vincent. We used you and your family as bait to bring down what's left of the Benedetti organization." Vincent felt a moment of fury at being manipulated, then relief as he understood. "You knew she'd come here. We knew she couldn't resist the chance to destroy you personally. And we knew you'd never run, not when it meant your children would spend their lives looking over their shoulders. So we gave you what you wanted, a chance to end this permanently, while giving us what we needed, a way to capture every remaining Benedetti operative in one coordinated strike." The gunfire outside ceased as federal agents overwhelmed the remaining soldiers. Through his broken front door, Vincent could see Sophia emerging from cover, hands raised to identify herself as friendly. She was alive, unhurt, beautiful in the harsh searchlight. Francesca's body went limp beneath him. "It's over," she said quietly. "Everything I built, everything I planned, it's all gone." Vincent released her, stepping back as federal agents entered to place her in custody. "Yes, it's over. And that means my family can finally be free." As they led Francesca away in handcuffs for the second and final time, she looked back at Vincent one last time. "I still don't understand why you chose this. This ordinary life over everything we could have had." Vincent thought of Marco's laughter when they played catch in the backyard. Elena's concentration when she painted watercolors. Sophia's smile when she woke up beside him each morning. The weight of those memories, those choices, those small moments that had become his definition of wealth. Because ordinary is extraordinary when you've lived with violence for so long. Because love multiplies when you share it instead of hoarding it. Because home isn't a place you take by force. It's a place you build with people who choose to stay. 6 hours later, as dawn broke over Madison, Vincent and Sophia stood in their damaged living room, holding each other while federal agents finished processing the scene. Detective James Carter approached, looking exhausted but satisfied. "It's done," he said simply. "Every Benedetti operation, every remaining ally, every safe house and bank account. The entire organization has been dismantled. Francesca will spend the rest of her life in federal prison, maximum security, no possibility of escape or parole." "And the children?" Sophia asked. "Safe. Dr. Chun is bringing them home this afternoon. As far as they know, They spent 2 days at a fun camp learning art and riding horses while their parents had the house painted. Carter smiled slightly. Though you might need to explain the bullet holes in your front door. Vincent laughed, surprising himself. We'll tell them it's a new decorating style. Very avant-garde. 3 months later, the house on Maple Drive had been repaired, reinforced, and restored to suburban normalcy. David Sullivan continued teaching English literature, now with the added gravitas of someone who'd survived genuine tragedy. Rebecca Sullivan expanded her library programs, finding particular joy in helping immigrant families navigate their new homeland. Christopher excelled at soccer and made honor roll. Olivia's ballet recital brought tears to her parents' eyes. On a quiet Sunday evening in spring, Vincent sat on his back porch, grading papers while Sophia planted tomatoes in their garden. Marco practiced guitar in his room, the gentle strumming floating through open windows. Elena drew pictures at the kitchen table, her art having evolved from the dark, violent images of her early trauma to bright landscapes filled with hope. Vincent's phone rang. The caller ID showed a number he didn't recognize, but when he answered, Detective James Carter's familiar voice filled the line. Thought you should know, Carter said. Francesca died yesterday. Prison fight. Another inmate whose family was killed in Benedetti trafficking operations. Justice sometimes finds its own way. Vincent felt nothing at the news. No satisfaction, no grief, just a quiet closing of a chapter he'd moved beyond. Thank you for telling me. Will there be any complications? None. The investigation concluded it was a random altercation. Nothing connects back to you or your family. You're free, Vincent. Completely, finally free. After hanging up, Vincent called Sophia over, sharing the news. She listened quietly, then asked, How does it feel? Like the end of a book I stopped reading a long time ago. Vincent pulled her close. We have today, we have each other, we have our children. The past can't touch any of that anymore. That evening, the Sullivan family had dinner together on their back patio, sharing stories about their day, making plans for summer vacation, arguing good-naturedly about what movie to watch later. Ordinary family moments, precious in their simplicity. As the sun set over Madison, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Vincent reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From the violent shadows of Chicago to this peaceful suburban evening. From a broken man seeking revenge to a father teaching his children that love was stronger than hate. Marco looked up from his guitar. Papa, do you think we'll always live here? Vincent considered the question seriously. I don't know where we'll live, son, but I know who will be wherever we go. A family. People who protect each other, who choose each other every day, who build something beautiful from the pieces of what was broken. Elena abandoned her drawing to climb onto Vincent's lap. And we'll always be together. Always. Vincent promised, meaning it absolutely. Some promises were too important to break. As stars emerged in the darkening sky, the Sullivan family settled into their evening routine. Homework and baths, bedtime stories and goodnight kisses. The rituals of normal life, more valuable than any empire, more powerful than any weapon. Vincent Romano, the Mafia boss, was dead. Vincent Sullivan, the father, lived on. And in that transformation, in that choice to love instead of destroy, to build instead of conquer, he had found the only victory that truly mattered. The victory of home. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this.